Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard and David Anderson with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing business content from accomplished leaders to bring you value, to scale your business, and to better yourself personally. And really hopefully you enjoyed. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. Super excited today to be joined by Michael DeLon. Michael, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, you are welcome, Robert. It's great to be here. It's going to be a fun conversation.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. So tell my audience what, a little bit of background about you.
Yeah, well, great. So I've been married 32 years to my wife, and we got 4 kids, believer in Jesus Christ. And that all plays in because when my wife first got married and we got married, the first 5 years of our marriage were like this, right? We fought and nobody taught us how to be married, even though we were raised in church. Well, then a few years later, after we got some help from a ministry, God moved us from Indiana down to Little Rock, Arkansas to serve with that ministry. So we were missionaries to the family for a long time, for about 8 or 9 years, until that ministry went through some corporate reorganizations. Okay. And I spent 2 years in prison, as I say. I was in a job that I hated. And after 2 years, I prayed and asked God what I could do, to escape. And he said I could go do marketing consulting with business owners because that's what I love to do. I love marketing. Business owners struggle with it. So on January 1st of 2013, I escaped prison and became an entrepreneur to help small business owners with marketing. And that's what started my journey as an entrepreneur. I'd come out and meet with you, Robert, and I'd say, hey, I can help you grow your business. And you'd meet with me. We'd have a great conversation. And you'd say, hey, Michael, what have you done for the last few years? I said, well, I've helped build marriages and families. And you said, oh, Michael, that's honorable. Way to go. Oh, look at the time. I've got another meeting. Let's keep this going. And you'd usher me out the door, right?
Yep, pretty much.
And I said, boy, I got to fix that because I was living on savings and things were not good. And so I was at my church one day, second floor, pacing the hallways going, God, how do I help Robert? Because I know I can. And he gave me this idea. He says, take all of your strategies and put them in a book. So I did. I wrote a book back in 2013. It's called On Marketing. And then I would call you, Robert, and I'd say, hey, I think I can help you, Robert. And you set a meeting with me. I'd mail a copy of my book to you. A week later, I'd walk into your office. There it was. My book was on your desk, dog-eared, highlighted under. You'd read my book. And in that meeting, you'd say, now, Michael, in your book, you said, how do you help me do that? And you'd hire me. And the next guy hired me. And the next guy hired me. I thought, this is really cool. Let me ask you a question. And this is going to tie into what we're talking about today. Okay. What changed between those 2 meetings? Did my background in marketing and understanding marketing change at all?
No.
Did my ministry background change at all? No. What changed was how you thought of me. When you got a copy of my book, I instantly became an expert in marketing in your mind, so that when I walked into your office, you had pen in hand, ready to take down my solution. That, Robert, changed my business and changed my life. That was the seed that has now grown into Paperback Expert, where all day, every day, we help business owners create their book without writing a word to position them uniquely in the mind of their audience to separate them from all of their competitors. And what you and I are going to talk about a little bit today is that, but really the first thing that we do with a business owner is what we call brand strategy, trying to understand their unique story that they can use in all of their marketing to really separate themselves. So that was a kind of a long answer, but it gives you the background of who I am, but also how in the world did I get here, right?
No, I mean, it's a great introduction and puts us right on task to dive into a little bit more. So, I like you, I go into a lot of companies and help them out. And, when you start asking them questions about, what's unique, have they thought about their brand? I get the blank looks on their faces because, typically they're just, I suppose, they're used to business coming in. They maybe do some networking. Their phone is always ringing. So they haven't really had time to think about the brand and what differentiates themselves. So, what's the start of that whole process?
Yeah, for us, it's asking a series of questions. So we have a brand strategy questionnaire. But what I tell most business owners is have a friend take a friend out to coffee or something or lunch and turn on your computer or your phone and record it, and have them start asking you questions about your background. How did you grow up? How big was your family? What did you do as a hobby? Where'd you go to college? Why did you start a business? What are you doing this for? Because you could be doing a dozen other things. What do you like to do now? And when you ask 8 or 10 or 12 questions, or have somebody ask them, and you just start asking them, and you get somebody who's a little inquisitive and say, really, what? Tell me about that. Why'd you coach soccer in college? Why'd you major in that? Right? There's always stories there. And what you find are there themes that start coming out, words that keep getting repeated. And you realize, oh, yeah, I never realized that all of that kind of ties together. And now what you have is the beginning of a story. And that story is going to separate you from everybody else in a very powerful way. And we can talk about a couple examples as we get into it. But that's where I would say, have a friend take you out and ask you just a lot of questions about your background. How'd you do how'd you get to where you are? What do you like to do? That's where you begin to understand what separates you. Because in business, really, okay, if we talk about commercial landscapers or home inspectors or electricians or plumbers, from a consumer's perspective, you're all the same. What's going to make me choose you? And at the end of the day, whether you're a landscaper or a lawyer, I'm going to choose you because I like you best.
So let me ask you this. I mean, yes, I understand the exercise and asking a lot of questions, and I do similar things to that. But during that whole process, I mean, are you looking at the competition, or is this you looking at internally first? And then once you've established, what you're all about, what your brand looks like, then you're starting to compare that with some of your competitors, just to sort of see how you compare with, other companies nearby.
Yeah. So it's kind of a both and. We always want to know who's out there, right? You've always got competitors, but the brand strategy and everything is always, for us, it's always about you. It's internal. It's what separates you. Okay. So let me give you one example, because it'll make it clear. And this is outside of is landscaping, but it's also, from my perspective, many companies are commodities. They look the same, whether you're a lawyer, a financial advisor, landscaper, it doesn't matter. They all look the same from the outside. Okay. We did work early on. A home inspector came to me. Okay. Now that's pretty commoditized industry, right? Home inspector is a home inspector is a home inspector. I just got to get it done to get my house. I don't care.
Yeah, pretty much. And most of the time it's even, it's being referred to through your realtor or something like that.
Exactly. So he came to me. He's in a pretty competitive market. And he's like, I want to become an Amazon bestselling author because I want to grow my business. I said, all right, let's go. So we went through our process. And as he started telling us about his background, his history, and what he does now in home inspection, we said, well, what else do you do? He's like, well, on weekends and nights, I'm a football referee coach or a referee.
Okay.
And we said, oh, really? Tell us about that. So, I mean, he lit up, Robert. This is his passion. He loves this. And he started telling us, he's like, oh, yeah, home inspecting and being a referee, they have a lot in common, right? They have rules that you have to follow. They have flags when things go wrong. And he just kept going. And we said, okay, time out. Chris, right there. This is you. And so we created his brand, his differentiation around that. We published his book, and his book is now called the Official Guide to Home Inspections, because he's an official.
I like that. I like that.
Chris Perry is now America's home inspection referee. And when he goes out to the realtors to talk to them about, his company, and when he goes out to inspect the home, he shows up looking like a football referee. When he finds something wrong with your house, he puts a yellow flag on it, just like he would throw, right? So we were able to take what's unique about Chris and apply it to his business to give him a very different message when he goes out to the public, right? And realtors, everybody loves football and referees and all that. And it allowed him to have some differentiation in the market and to have price elasticity, because people will pay more for a personality and somebody who's fun than they will just John down the road. So Everybody has a story like that.
Mm.
Okay. You just have to discover it. And many times you can't discover it yourself because you're so close. You have to have a friend or somebody else ask you the questions and look into your business to say, have you ever thought about doing that or saying this? Most of our authors have never told the stories of why they do what they do or how they got to do whatever they do. And we're like, why not? Well, it's not professional. It's not. I'm like, forget all that. You're dealing with people. And we forget that. So that's just one example, but everybody, every business owner has a story. You've just got to bring it out. And that story is going to differentiate you, but it's going to attract a certain type of clientele to you. And it might repel others. That's okay. You don't need everybody.
Yeah.
You need your own little tribe. So that's how we do it. Is
No,
we
that's
always
great.
look internal first.
I like that. How does that then work? I mean, I firmly believe in what you were saying there, because everybody has some story. Not necessarily people take time to discover that story. But then what I think that works well for, smaller companies, but what if when companies start to scale up and go to either get bigger in the city they're in, maybe they go even to different states? How do they carry through that brand when you start hiring a lot more employees, a lot more managers who perhaps they're moving further away potentially from that story, from especially the owner story?
Yeah. So the owner story is always going to be there at some level, but then it becomes, in a sense, the way we do things. So if Chris, the home inspection referee, let's say he got fired up and he started a national franchise of home inspectors under this brand, right? Well, he's got the story as the owner, the founder, but then every franchise runs according to his playbook, right? Because football has playbooks. So you can take your story, put it into a bottle per se, and say, this is the way we do things at XYZ Corporation. Okay. It starts with, going back to even Zig Ziglar from years and years ago, right? He built a pretty massive company. And we all knew and loved Zig, right? I called his company one day back when I was in radio, and I picked it up, and the lady answered it. She's here. It's a great day at the Zig Ziglar Corporation. My name's Susie. How may I help you? Okay, Robert, that was 30 years ago, and I remember it today. He took Zig Ziglar, he bottled it, he trained his people, and it was the DNA of his organization.
Okay.
Same thing here. It starts with leadership. You've got a story, but it's more than that story. It's the DNA of who you are. And how do you communicate that to your team? And how do they communicate that out to your prospects and clients?
Cool, I like that. And how, to take that a little bit further, how do you, yes, it's great coming up with that idea, the brand, and, starting to, I suppose, dissimulate that to the rest of the team players. But how do you then get the messaging out? I mean, is that a whole campaign in itself? Does that include training of your employees? Things like the elevator pitch, how they answer the phones. I mean, that sounds like quite a long campaign, but to make it stick, I mean, you're going to have to make that happen, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And the best thing is if you've, like Chris, he's written the book, right? Every employee needs to read this book.
Right. It's almost like their Bible, the playbook per se.
It is. And then Chris should be doing training videos of some nature and having them on their website or their back end website, their in-house training website that their people go through. On the website, it should be Chris explaining his story, who he is, why he's so excited to be part of this community of home inspectors, why he's brought these people together, right? It sounds like a big campaign, but at the end of the day, it simplifies because you're not always chasing that next shiny object, and you're not always trying to figure out, well, what am I going to say next? Well, I know what I'm going to say because it's my core story. And that resonates whether I'm a one-man shop or a 10,000 person organization. It comes back to the core story of who are you as a company? The company's DNA is the founder's DNA, and it gets just riveted through everything, right? When Chris has his vehicles, I haven't seen one recently, but it should be wrapped like a football field, right? And with a referee out there, he should just play off that entire theme. You can do the same thing. I know a guy who does a heating and air conditioning company, massive in the southwest of the USA. And the story that they tell on radio, TV, everywhere is the story of this owner now when he was, I think, 9 years old, holding the flashlight for his father who was fixing air conditioners. And on their trucks is a picture of a boy, thinking like the 1950s Andy Griffith style, holding a flashlight. And the whole story is, I learned everything I know about air conditioning from my dad. And he taught me to do it right.
That's great. That's compelling.
It is. And then the whole company, they're a multi-state company.
Right.
Everybody does this, right? This is how they operate. That's a story that resonates with me. Dude, if they're in my area, I'm going to choose them. And I assure you, they're not the cheapest. It doesn't matter. That's how you take it.
But how do you protect that? Because as you get out to more and more employees, there's obviously competitors trying to, take away some of that market share. Are you talking about IP protection? Are you talking about somebody like a brand ambassador who's hired in a company that's all they do is to protect the brand? How do you really, again, make that stick long term?
Yeah. Well, number one, you can always protect it if you want to with trademarks and things of that nature. No, but the bigger thing is nobody else can tell that story with authenticity,
right?
Except him. Okay. There's only one home inspection referee in America. He's the only home inspector I've ever met who does football refereeing. Okay. He's the only one. He doesn't have to protect it. The more marketing he does, the longer he's in business, the safer he is, and his competitors can't try to do it. If he got a competitor in his market who tried to emulate him, he'd be the laughing stock of everybody. It would be too obvious, right? So when you have a crystal clear message that's unique to you, you really don't have to worry about people stealing it because they can't. It's your story. I have a very unique story of escaping prison. I tell it all the time, right? If you come out and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to tell you my prison escape story because I'm just like Michael. It's not going to work, Robert. And whether it's in our businesses or whether it's in landscaping, what's your story? Talk to me about you and who you are. And I'm more likely to engage with you.
Yep, not for sure. And to stick in that same subject or topic, I guess regarding protecting the brand and making sure you're, keeping it alive, but it also needs to be backed up, especially service companies, by good service, making sure that your clients are happy, you're providing, you're following through, because that could obviously go the other way in terms of, you build up this great brand, but if you start having bad service or bad employees or bad culture, then that brand could easily crumble pretty quickly.
Get tarnished very quickly. Absolutely.
There's probably some examples of, Fortune 100 companies out there, but how do you then protect it on that side, Michael?
Yeah, that's a great question. Outside of my realm, honestly, but it's putting in hiring the right people, training them well, paying them well, appreciating them well, so that they buy into this vision of we're bigger than dollars. We're not driven by money. Yes, we want money and revenue and profits. Those only come when we serve our clients with excellence. Right. Here are the 7 criteria of how we operate our business. Right? We have 5 criteria in our business, but different companies have different criteria. Everybody has to adhere to these, and we hire by these and we fire by these. And you've got to run your business by criteria like that people come to, and you say, that's not the way we do things. Here's the way we do them. And when you're hiring that way, clear expectations. But you have to have good people. You're never going to grow a great business without great people.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So we have a couple minutes left. Any parting shares, nuggets for my listeners? And then I'd also, I'd love to hear how my listeners can get hold of you, just to sort of maybe talk to you about their brand, how they can create that story, because you're right. Most people have a story. They just have never really thought about it.
That's right. They don't tell it. Parting words for me is be yourself. Okay. And here's why I say that. So I've been doing this for a decade. First 6 years or so, I was trying to be the marketing consultant, the publisher that I thought you wanted me to be, or I should be. So I wouldn't do video because I had to have everything scripted. And finally somebody said something to me. I don't know. And I said, okay, I'm just going to be Michael. And this is Michael. And if you like me and love me, great. And if you don't, if I offend you, I'm so sorry, but we shouldn't work together. And that changed everything, Robert. It just it makes life so much easier. And it allows me to be honest with my faith in Christ, with my prison story, with my wife, my kids, and all of that. It's like, this is who I am. And if you don't like that, it's okay. I'm not going to be mad at you. Let's just not do anything together.
Right.
And I think every business owner needs to be that. They just need to be themselves and use that to attract people who like you. And if somebody doesn't like you, that's okay. There's enough business out there for all of us. So that's what I would do.
Cool. Yeah, just almost be authentic.
Totally. That's a great word. Yes. Be authentic. And don't look at the other guy and say, oh, he drives an F-350 with an enclosed trailer. I've got to have one of those. No, you don't. Be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do people get in touch with you?
If they just go to our website, paperbackexpert.com, that is the hub of all things Michael. So you can book a call with me. You can see the programs we have. You can talk about books or coaching, whatever. Paperbackexpert.com.
Cool. Awesome. Michael, really appreciate your time today. You've got some great nuggets there for my listeners. Start to make me think a little bit as well. So yeah, nice job today. And thank you for your time.
Well, you're welcome, Robert. It has been lots of fun. Always enjoy sharing. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you, Michael. Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and you got some great takeaways for your business or for your personal life. This is Robert Clinkenbeard along with David Edmondson. I would love to get you and your friends to join us on your journey. If you have any ideas for future speakers, or if you just want to pass this on to friends, family, other business colleagues to sign up and subscribe, that would be awesome. Anyway, thanks everyone, and have a great 2022. Cheers.